Hello, my name is Kevin. I am a First Nations advocate with Dementia Australia. For more than 50,000 years we have come together to trade knowledge, to learn and to teach. Today we join to keep up that tradition. So with that in mind, we now pay our respects to the traditional owners, to elders past and present, to those First Nations people joining us here today.
We'd met in 1966 at a dance. At the Hurstville Civic Centre, every Saturday night there was a dance there. I was 21 and Shirley was 20. I spotted Shirley in the barn dance. I watched her and she was knocking guys back. So I waited till the last dance, walked up, asked for a dance, said yes. Oh, okay. So, we had a dance and that was that. And I asked her out.
This is Cole. He and Shirley have been together for more than 50 years now. And believe it or not, they're still dancing together too. Every Tuesday, Cole takes Shirley to St Luke's Care so they can sing and dance with a dementia choir. Shirley's lived with dementia for more than 8 years now. And Cole's been her carer since her diagnosis.
How are we all feeling today? Energized?
Energized, alive.
So let's do What a Wonderful World.
Started 2 years ago. We've been involved right from the start. It started with 10 and now there's about 40. And it's fun. It's the highlight of a lot of people's week. I try not to miss it because I think we both get a lot from it.
Here we go.
Have the advantage too of being able to dance while we're here. Robert puts us through our dance routine every week and picks a song and we dance to it. It just gives you an uplift for both of us. I mean, I can just watch Shirley. When we dance, Shirley doesn't have dementia and I can feel that. It's the look on her face.
Cole's found a great way to hold on to a special part of his relationship with Shirley as her dementia develops. One of the hardest things about being a carer can be watching the person you love change before your eyes, especially if that changes the nature of your relationship. Hey there, I'm Hamish McDonald, and I was taking care of my dad when he was diagnosed with Lewy body dementia and Parkinson's.
And I'm Jim Rogers. I was diagnosed with young onset Alzheimer's in 2021. This is Hold the Moment, a podcast by people living with dementia and their families.
So Jim, I've met your husband Tyler a few times now. Great guy, but I'm kind of curious, how's your relationship changed since the diagnosis?
It does change a little bit, Hamish, because you start to not withdraw a little bit, but you rely on the other person. I also think in social settings, you start to just be aware that, you have got this to live with and you're just mindful. Tyler will sometimes in a social setting where there's a lot of conversations, will try to steer the conversation. For example, if we went out with you and your husband, we would not try to have two individual conversations because it's like two radio stations playing at once. So he would sort of try and redirect the conversation into, everybody listening to one person at once.
And what about the dynamic between the pair of you? Because I know before the diagnosis, you were very much the driver of a lot of decisions. You were very strong on the business side of things, the investments, the house, the family. That's had to change, hasn't it?
Yeah, I think I'm still the big ideas, man. I've always got a lot of things that I want to do, and I've always got these, big dreams still. But Ty is the one that is, he makes it happen. And from a perspective of putting it down on paper or organising it, or the financial perspective, he's the person that would be in charge of all of that, because I've sort of lost that ability now.
Because you don't do any of the finances or anything like that anymore?
No, nothing. And I'm pretty useless with that sort of stuff. I could do it, but the less you do it, the less you sort of bother to do it. And I'm very lucky that he's good at it, and he's in finance anyway. He's a mortgage broker, so that works well for us.
And that change, does that cause emotional tension?
I don't think that is really one of the most significant things. I think there is a feeling of independence being lost. That can cause a little tension. I feel as though sometimes I'm waiting around for him not to be busy so we could go and do stuff, because I no longer work and I'm retired. But I don't think it's a massive elephant in the room. It's just, you have to adjust, and you just got to be positive and get on with it.
And of course, Jim, we know that no dementia journey is the same as any other. In fact, relationships can change incredibly quickly when someone's living with dementia. Shirley's personality started to change right after her diagnosis.
Absolutely. And when they first met, Cole remembers one thing in particular about her.
Very confident. She was a very confident woman. In fact, probably that's a lot of things that attracted me to her. She was very forthright. She knew what she wanted. Quiet. She was a very quiet person. In fact, it's funny, that's something I've noticed. Her personality change has been incredible. She was very quiet, but once we had kids, her personality changed enormously. Like school and that, meeting with other parents and families and that, Shirley was far more outspoken. Then once dementia came, it reverted back. The dementia groups I've been involved with too, that a lot of people do get, because they're behind the conversation, so they're not picking up, so they get quieter and quieter and quieter, so.
What was it like parenting with Shirley?
She did all the caring. She was great. She was a really good carer. I put myself in the traditional role of my vintage. I'm about to turn 80 next year.
You look amazing for 80.
Yeah.
But in that vintage, you did a 9-to-5 job, and that was it. I used to leave home about 7:30. I'd get home about 7 at night. So those 5 days were all Shirley, She was
the core of the home,
she
really.
Was it.
She was running everything.
Yeah, she was running the whole show, And I say that now that with dementia, and I've said it to my kids too, like, it's now our turn to be carers.
How has Shirley changed since you started caring for her?
Shirley didn't sort of show enough symptoms at first, and then as time, 8 years now, I'm at the end of the line in that sense. There's not much left. But over that period of time, and it's been that, and it's the levels. You'll get your levels, it drops, and then you adjust. As a carer, that's what I find, that I've got to adjust. No one can tell me what to do. It becomes a very personal thing where you know how to handle things, and you just pick up on that, And Shirley's not the girl I married. Nothing is left of that. It's all gone.
When did it start to feel like you were becoming her carer then, that you were starting to take more control over the day-to-day running of things?
A few years, I'd say. Shirley was still, capable of doing things. That first 6 years of it, it was progressing, but even then, signage, especially in the early days, was very important because Shirley didn't know where things went. Being a graphic designer, I've got it everywhere, socks and shoes and da-da-da-da-da, and everything's labelled, but now it means nothing.
Can you just talk to me, Cole, about how you now think about your relationship with Shirley, given that it's, as you say, you've moved into the carer role, and I think you were describing it earlier as, there's not a lot of the person you first met left. How do you hold that in your own mind and maybe in your own heart?
Yeah, well, it is memories. Memories are important, I think. I sum it up by saying that it was a shared love back then. It's now dependent love. It really is. It's all me, just depending on me. There's not a lot she can share anymore because she can't. There's no conversation left anymore, and that's difficult. That is hard. I remember when she first got diagnosed, I thought, well, I'm not going to sit on my bum and do nothing about this. It was a challenge in a sense, I mean, I've always been involved with things. Well, this is my new thing I can get involved with, And if I can keep Shirley happy for the moment, I mean, the whole life now is moments.
Do you feel lonely?
Yes. Yeah, you do, yeah. Loneliness is a lot to do with it. Shirley does 2 half days daycare now, and when I first got the offer to do it, I basically, no, I don't need it, because I felt I had to be doing something.
Yeah.
It was that, I've got to, if I got that 4 hours, I've got to do this, this, and this. And my daughter, the doctor said, Dad, it's your mind. It's giving you free mind space. Shirley's safe. She's happy there.
So important. It's like a parent with a young child. They just need a break just to be yourself for a moment and not worry about somebody.
Yeah. But it's funny, yesterday she was in care and I was walking by myself and I thought, this is what it's going to be like. It's going. Yeah, that's sort of, but you do get lonely and you're grieving. You're already grieving, yeah.
What would be your takeaway for people in your position now? What would you advise them to do, at this nearer stage to perhaps care full-time?
I think being involved with what they like. If you can pick what they like doing, keep that going. I mean, we walk a lot. Shirley's still swimming. I mean, I wouldn't trust her now without the noodle. And a lot of times she doesn't want to get in. It's like, and they lose so much confidence. I found that was another thing that, years ago, I could just put Shirley in the water and off we go. But now it's I've got to walk her down the steps, have the noodle in position, and then I'll go. And it's a sort of little push, get her in there. Once she's in, she's fine.
Yeah.
And I feel that from an exercise point of view and all that, she's got a crooked knee, so she can't walk as much as she used to. She's done at least 25 Cirque du Soleil. She used to bring the kids to watch me, and then she started doing it with me and all that sort of thing.
Pretty impressive.
And, so that I try and just keep the involvement going. It'd be so much easier just to sit back and let it happen. I've had a couple of specialists say to me that Shirley wouldn't be where she is now without you being there to keep these things going. Yeah.
It sounds like a big part of what's helping Shirley is that she's still dancing.
We've always jived, and I mean, that's a meeting at a dance,
So it's always been a passion.
Yeah, and when Shirley and I jive, there is no dementia.
Interesting.
There really is no dementia. She will move to the music, not as good as she used to, and I don't as good as I used to, but she moves to it, and we still do it. I mean, we don't. Someone said, go and do dance class, but that won't work. That's just not. But we do choir as well now, and that's brilliant. I just love choir, and Shirley loves it. You put words in front of them, you start the music of our vintage, off we go. And Robert, who brings a keyboard, he's fabulous, and every week he plays a jive song for us. Colin, Shirley, up you get.
Your turn.
And we jive every week.
What advice do you give to other people that find themselves in a situation like yours?
Be patient, very patient, and be positive, my 2 Ps. I mean, you've got to stay positive. It's so easy to slip into it and say, this is... And I think with care, it is the easy way out in a sense. I can see why a lot of couples who haven't got a strong relationship would split up, for sure. Because, it'd be just so much easier, you go to care, I'll go my way. And I feel that, Yeah, because we have this strong relationship, I'm more than willing to give back.
Cole, thank you very much for talking to us, and obviously well done on the amazing support and care that you're giving to Shirley.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure.
Wow, there's a lot there. I can only imagine what it's like for a marriage to change the way that Cole's did so rapidly. But of course, not all carer relationships are involving married couples. For many people, including me, the relationship that changes is one between a parent and a child.
Yeah, I'm seeing that happen in my life a little bit. My own kids who are adults now, they're always trying to help me out with little things here and there. They're always checking on how I'm feeling, and it's a bit strange, to be honest, because that used to be my job to them.
Yeah, still is a little bit. That change can obviously be pretty destabilising for everyone, but it's further complicated by different cultural needs and norms. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Kif halik?
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. This is Sanna, a Muslim woman who managed the care for her mother, who lived with Alzheimer's. The thing Sanna most remembers about her mum is her strength.
Amazing mum. Recently passed away 3 months ago, almost 3 months ago. She'll always be remembered as a very strong woman. She went through a lot, in her life.
What is it about her childhood, her beginnings, that you think made her so tough and so resilient? Where did she start life? What would just paint a picture of it?
Her life was quite hard because it was a war-torn zone in Lebanon. And the thing is that my dad had to come to Australia in order for us to live. So he'll send the money over so that we can live comfortably because there was no work, nothing. And so she had to take care of 4 girls and a little boy. She had to be quite strong because of the war. She had to protect us because it was very wild. I mean, I can remember even at 3 years old, 4 years old, people trying to get into our home.
This is what, the Lebanese civil war, is it?
Yeah. And it was quite, scary. And the bombs, we can hear them outside. Her main goal was to protect us. You could feel that with my mum's protection, and especially girls, you know what I mean? In our culture, protecting the girls is the most important thing.
So how did your mum do that when you were a kid and you were growing up during the Lebanese civil war? What did your mum do to protect you?
I remember waking up and she would always be awake. Do you know what I mean? She would always be on the lookout.
On guard.
Yeah. And so that's that kind of protective thing she had. I can remember that always.
I guess there's a perception in the West of Muslim women being maybe suppressed, not very strong. But I've spent a lot of time living and working in the Middle East, and I have a slightly different
Of course,
picture.
stereotype of us is just completely different.
So paint us a picture of how tough your mum was.
She was strict, but like I said to you, it's to protect us, Be strong-minded, make sure no one forces you to do anything, right? So those kind of values was in our upbringing, We're tough women. We're tough, but we're also gentle. That's the thing that she taught us. So, we can get what we want, but in a respectable way. Unfortunately, she had a hard time in Lebanon, but she came to Australia and also had a hard time. The discrimination that we went through as a childhood, to this day, we're still having it, you know what I mean? So that made her even more stronger and more stricter with us. So I don't remember our mum being affectionate as in, lovey-dovey, and hugging and, she wasn't like that.
So tell me about what happened once your mum was diagnosed with dementia. Whose job was it to look after your mum?
Well, at that time, before she had the dementia, she was living with my brother. As soon as the diagnosis is set, family meeting, all right, you got on Monday, you got on Tuesday, you got on we just spread the job of who's taking care of.
It's very internalised, isn't it? It's it becomes just your problem.
That's right.
Tend to push away any external support.
We didn't even know this external. I'm talking to the community. They didn't even know that we can access these supports. And that's shocking to me.
So how did it work? Your mum was going from one family member to the next?
Yes. So we were 8, obviously. So she would go from one house to another. So can you imagine
The trauma for somebody with
where's
dementia.
Where's the bathroom? But it's on the left. So can you imagine how dementia accelerated?
Even for me now, it's just to be moving around too much is a little bit overwhelming. So for her to be in a different bathroom, different bedroom, would have been very draining.
She didn't
for
have her own room, obviously. Certain houses had the facility for her own room, but others no. She had to share with grandkids.
Can you describe what impact that had on her, all that moving from one family member to the next?
Oh, it accelerated her dementia. She was going crazy, literally, because she'll suddenly go loud and violent. You know what I mean? And we wouldn't know, like, what did we do? What did we do?
Something triggered her.
Something triggered her. And obviously, like, when we look at, my house has got brick and brack everywhere, and it's got the cultural, different kind of patterns everywhere. So obviously she was not in the right environment.
What's the issue with the patterns and the different shapes?
Already her brain is in turmoil, right? She's trying the pattern of the Turkish carpet, right? Struggling to try to put the patterns in the right place, you know what I mean?
That would have been mentally difficult for her.
Difficult to her, but we weren't seeing that. We were seeing her getting angrier and getting violent.
Because you don't understand what's behind.
Because we didn't know what's behind of
frustration.
her, until I got that training and I said, we should get rid of the renter from her home, clear out the whole house, no furniture except simple like a bed, in her room and a simple lounge. That's it, very simple stuff, and put her in. The day my mum walked into her home, it was like she came back. Like literally my mum came back.
Sort of a sigh of relief.
Yeah. And then she worked and she goes, where's my birds? Like she knew because she's got Rosella birds all our life. She was raising them basically. She was in the wild birds.
What are Rosella birds?
Rosella's wild birds would come and feed.
You know the birds on the biscuit tins?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a Rosella.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's my new learn for the day.
She was like, and they came, like, I'm not kidding you. It was the beautiful sight. And she said they just came and sat on her hands.
It's like they knew.
Yeah,
She's back home.
Well, I'm not kidding. It was just so beautiful. And she goes, this is my house. She knew where the bathroom is straight away. And this is like a couple of years she hasn't been there.
So what had happened to your relationship with your mum during this time? Because I know you're married to a Palestinian.
Yes.
And the Arabic accents are a little bit different.
Yes.
The Lebanese accent is pretty distinct. You use some different words.
Yes,
Is it shufi mafi?
Yeah, like even the word in Lebanese we'll say
Yeah.
instead of, like right, yeah. I'll say in Palestinian we'll say
So what did this do for your mum?
She literally deleted me as her daughter, like every time it was my turn to come to my mum, she goes, you're not my daughter, and you're not, who are you? And go away, and it was really hard. That's like,
that would have been heartbreaking for you.
It was. Because you see, we share videos constantly of our mum and I can see how she talks to my sisters and brothers.
Warm.
Yeah. Sometimes there was not warm. She's still a tough woman. I won't go into detail, but there was still that love there. There was still that affection, She would allow them to hug them, I didn't get that.
You weren't allowed to hug your mum?
No, she wouldn't let me hug her. She wouldn't let me kiss her.
Is that because she felt you were a stranger?
Yes,
She just wouldn't accept that you were part of the family because of that change in dialect?
The dialect.
So you were trying to do things like change her clothes, feed your mum.
Yes, with the fight all the time.
Yeah, so how did she react?
I'd come out with bruises every time I come from my mum because she didn't not like me to touch her.
It must be very confronting when you get to that stage where you have to be in control and start caring to the degree where you're bathing, feeding.
That's
and
right.
Especially if there's resistance, that must be very hard to go through.
Very hard. It was very depressing to see that, you see, because my mindset is, what can I do for my mum? Because this is the time where we can get all these rewards for being good to our parents. This is payback, you know what I mean? Like we feel that we say this is time to take care of her because she took care of us. And that concept of our culture, saying it's your responsibility when they grow up, right? But Islamically, the first word in our Quran is iqra, which means read, right? Which means knowledge. So we're supposed to educate ourselves with the condition that we're dealing with. I mean, I don't know anything about dementia.
No, it's like the mystery disease that's behind the curtain.
Yeah.
This is why this podcast is so great, because it really does give a lot of people insight.
So when someone says cancer, everyone knows, you know, they'll go and look up, which cancer does my mum have, and they'll get an ID.
It's really well spoken of.
But as soon as dementia, they won't seek it. They'll say, it's just part of growing old.
It's so stigmatised still, isn't it?
It's considered normal.
So tell me what you did about that, because you've mentioned going to a workshop. What was it? What did you learn, and what difference did that make?
That was like the most amazing experience I've had, and that was 3 years before she died. So 3 years previously was those 3 years where I didn't have my mum, right? She didn't acknowledge me. I was like taking care of her from a distant kind of, She'll have her moments, don't get me wrong, but it was not enough. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So I found a workshop in Lakemba, so it's all supposed to be for the Muslim community, and I was the only one that turned up.
Right.
Yeah.
This was a Dementia Australia workshop?
Dementia Australia, Friends United with Dr. Diana. So I had her all to myself. So I said to her, listen, Diana, look, I've got this issue with my mum. I was hoping you can give me some tips. She goes, look, think of a way that your mum remembers you by when you were little. Because every person in your family has to greet her in a different way for her to recognise that person on a constant level.
So what did you do?
So I love dancing. So when I was little, she'd always put, music was always there in the background in there. So she'll put the music on and she'll say dance. So I'll dance
this is
for
when you're a
her
little
when
girl.
I was little.
How old would you have been?
I was dancing since I was 1. So I love dancing, and I thought that's the only connection that she knows that about me. Out of all of, my family, I love dancing, and she knows that. So I said, okay, we'll try it. So I put the music. I chose an older song that she would remember in those times.
Okay.
And I walked in dancing to her, and she looked up straight away. And she said, Sanna?
Oh.
Yeah. It was like, she said my name.
Wow. So as though they found the information out.
Click, yeah. And she said, Sanna? And she actually got emotional.
That's amazing.
She actually said, I love you, Habibi, Pale. And she's called me over.
As though you've been somewhere for a while.
It's as if that, where have you been? I haven't seen you in a while.
What a massive breakthrough.
Yeah, I know. And she hugged me and she kissed me. And she said, Allah yarda alayk. And the words of Islamic prayer is so important to us. And I never had that for a long time.
What did having or re-establishing that connection with your mum mean for you?
I actually got my mum back. I was able to take care of her and her knowing me, not a stranger, like, someone's coming in. It reconnected me with my mum, like I'm now a daughter again. I'm not a stranger. Do you know what I mean? I'm actually someone that's important to her now. And every time she'll lose it and forget me, straight away the music is on. Straight away I'll dance and, Sanna.
There's such a feeling of reward when it is a loved one, and when that barrier's there and you can't get to that loved one because they don't know it's you, it changes the dynamic. But to actually get her back, and that's why I think so many people don't realise going to somewhere like Dementia Australia to get educated about these tips and things you can instill in the way that you care makes so much difference.
I know. A small tip.
You're a living example of that.
Yeah, it was just a small tip that she gave me, worked wonders, and especially even the colours. So every time I went to her house, I would only be in plain colours. So I wouldn't have those days where she'll scream and run, like she'll get loud and talking 100. No, I'd have a very calm time with my mum. I knew what was happening, so I made sure that there's no clothes that was patterned. Anything that's in the house, we actually cleared everything up because I told my sisters and that. So we did everything they recommended for her home to be, clutter-free and all that.
You've talked about this a little bit today, but when I first met you, when we launched the first season of Hold the Moment, you came and chatted to me and you said, look, it's really important that you explore what this means for different cultures, different backgrounds.
That's right.
And they say that no one dementia story or journey is the same as any other.
Yeah.
But why is it so important that we think about and talk about the different ways that different cultures are maybe coming at a challenge like this?
Because different cultures, even like Chinese and the Vietnamese and the Greeks, they are adamant on not getting outside help.
Why is that resistance there?
I still bring it back to they grew up saying, we took care of you when we were little. It's now your time to take care of us when we're old. Do you know what I mean? I think that is very strong to the culture in all of those cultures. When we were raising you, we didn't go and get any help. But and then, hang on a minute, they did have help. They had the aunties, they had the grandmothers. We had that social interaction there.
Very
we had
strong network.
Yeah, we had a lot of family, and that is part of the support.
Sanna, shukran jazilan.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to listen to.
Thank you.
Jim, in Arabic, shukran.
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 He knows it all this one.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thanks to both Sanna and Cole for sharing their stories with us.
If you want to know more about how to manage your changing relationship as a carer, we've got a bonus episode of the podcast for you.
That's right. Check your podcast feed for our helpline episode about changing relationships. You'll hear more from Kristen from the Dementia Australia helpline.
Kristen will give you some handy tips, and if you want more info, you can call the helpline yourself on 1800 100 500. Hold the Moment is a podcast from Dementia Australia, produced by Dead Set Studios. You can find more episodes and resources on Dementia Australia's website, dementia.org.au. The show is hosted by me, Jim Rogers.
And by me, Hamish McDonald. The executive producers are Kelly Reardon and Gia Moylan. The producers are Madeline Hawcroft and Liam Reardon. Production manager is Anne Chesterman. Sound design by Ryan Pemberton. A special thanks to the whole team at Dementia Australia and to everyone who shared their stories on this podcast.